Hello and welcome to the Believe You Can Be More podcast. Today I am joined by a former amateur boxer, a boxing journalist, and someone who, as he puts it, jumps all over the world. It's Carwyn Herbert. How are you?
I'm very good, Bailey. Thank you for having me. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. Actually, I want to start on the jumping thing. What is that? What is that all about?
So the jumping, it kind of happened organically. So a few years ago, I think it was about 2018, me and my partner had gone to Las Vegas to watch a boxing match, and we'd gone to the Grand Canyon, and she was doing that thing that partners do and taking pictures of everything. And so I'm just going to take a picture of you. And as she took it, I jumped off a wall. And I was almost in like a levitating stance. And she captured it mid-moment, and we were like, oh, that looks really good. Stuck it on Facebook. Everyone was like, saying you look like you're levitating like Dynamo. And then everywhere we've gone since, I've taken that picture.
Have you, because I've seen that you sort of like do it where you're like doing it with your legs. Have you ever tried it, right? Just jumping with your legs together? Because like, wouldn't that make it look more like you're levitating?
Potentially. Have you ever tried it?
No, I can't jump. He's loving this.
Yeah, so, it's quite a difficult shot to take. You got to take I think it's harder for the camera person than it is for the person doing the jump, because all I got to do is jump.
Well, it depends how many times you've got to jump, I suppose.
There have been times where I've done like a weight session or a run that day, and then you have to do the jump multiple times just to get that one picture.
Yeah, okay, so I want to start off unrelated as I usually do. So, he's coming in notes. He's got a note, he's cheating. So, I want you to try and create a fantasy band. So, rules are, I know you've already read the rules because you've got all your members written down there, but for the people that don't know the rules, which is pretty much everyone, you've got to create a band with a drummer, a guitarist, lead guitarist and bass player. Members cannot be in the same real-life band. You cannot have an additional vocalist. You must choose someone already in the band to sing whilst also playing their instrument. Okay, so who are you going with on the guitar first?
So I'm going with Jimi Hendrix on the guitar.
Ooh.
Because he's probably one of the best guitar players of all time.
Yeah. Who are you going with on drums?
Dave Grohl.
Oh, yeah! Come on. Right. Yeah, but you see, when I have Dave Grohl, I always think he's always got that underground sort of sense with him. Yeah. He's always got the punk sort of sense with him.
He's exceptional, isn't he? And he's very talented. And like when you see some of the stuff he did on drums, because was he the drummer for Nirvana? Yeah, and then he went off and started his own band and so on. And I think he's got to be the.
Do you see Dave Grohl as the new drummer in the studio for Foo Fighters?
Potentially, he probably doesn't need anyone else. He could do the whole thing himself.
Well, that's how he did his the first Foo Fighters album.
Yeah.
So he could anyway. On the lead guitar.
Lead guitar, I've gone with Lemmy from Motorhead.
I've got to be honest, I've never listened to Motorhead, as bad as that is.
Yeah, I've gone for Lemmy from Motorhead because I thought he'd be an interesting person, because you got to have a little bit of rock and roll in there.
Yeah, and finally, who are we going for on bass?
Oh, I put Lemmy down for bass, actually. Lemmy's down for bass. I haven't got a lead guitarist. I'm hoping that Jimmy and Lemmy can sort that between them.
Alright. How much of your members are singing? There's only one. There's only singer. One option.
This is going to be one that probably disappoints a lot of people, but I wanted a really rocky, gritty voice, so I've gone with Kelly Jones from the Stereophonics.
You can't, because that's a separate person, isn't it?
Kelly Jones?
Yeah, but that's a separate person from in your band.
Eh?
That's you didn't say him in your band, did you?
Kelly Jones? Oh, do one of these have to sing?
Yeah!
Oh!
Hey, listen, he's read the rules, right? He's read the rules.
Oh, we're going to go with Dave Grohl then to sing?
Yeah.
There we go. I thought we had one guy just up there singing on his own.
No, because in the rules, which I know that you've read, said You could not have an additional vocalist.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
We're going with Dave Grohl to sing out of them lot then.
Perfect. So, first things first, you were an amateur boxer.
Yes.
So how did that start? And did you try any sports before that, or?
Yeah, so I did a few martial arts. I was graded in jiu-jitsu, karate, judo, and taekwondo. I was quite good at jiu-jitsu, and then I did some boxing. I went to a gym down in West Wales, so I had to wait till I was old enough to drive, because I don't know if you've ever been to Wales, Bailey, but everything's very far. And I had to travel maybe 30 minutes in a car, going quite fast. Not breaking the speed limits in case any police are watching. But yeah, going quite fast down to Cardigan to box, and down there I had my first 6 or 7 amateur fights before relocating to Nottingham.
So, with you having to be able wait to drive to obviously get to the boxing gym, was there nobody in your family that could sort of help with that?
Given, like, at the time there was because it was quite far, and given my family background at the time, my mother wasn't working, it wasn't really cost effective or affordable for her to do so. A few years later, my mother got a really good job and so on, so it wasn't always thing, and the bus routes down there were absolutely terrible, so I didn't have access to it.
So as you moved to Nottingham, was there sort of a difference in sort of facilities there and everything like that?
Yeah, so I moved to Nottingham in 2009, and the gyms were a lot more accessible, so I didn't have to travel so far to get to the gyms. The gyms had, like, probably at that point, the equipment within the gyms was a little bit more advanced. So we had like pull-up bars and floor-to-ceiling balls and stuff like that, which in my gym in Cardigan, it had a lot of stuff, but there was only a small shed behind a shop. For instance, sometimes it's about the knowledge as well. So it's not just about the equipment. Sometimes it's about knowledge people give you, and they learn that off other people. So it's about the tool. But knowledge is a tool, isn't it?
So as you entered sort of the new gym with new facilities, and so there were obviously new people there, were they helpful to you as well, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the people you're surrounded by is probably more beneficial than even the equipment. So the equipment is vital. The equipment can make a massive difference to a point where, like, this is as basic as I can probably explain it, and most people will be able to relate this because everyone's gone for a run, haven't they?
Yeah.
And
well, run for me, maybe a different.
I've seen a clip of you running like 20 yards, Bill.
Where have you seen that?
It's viral.
Yeah, but I fell over, didn't I?
3 times.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah. So.
Do it once, you've got to do it again.
Yeah. So, a good pair of running shoes can be the difference between you having a good run and no injuries versus you having a bad run with coming out with it with injuries. And that's like the difference, like with the right gloves and the right people around you, the right knowledge. So you doing an exercise correctly by someone teaching you correctly prevents injury, where someone telling you, not giving you the right instruction, can get you picking up bad habits and hurting yourself and others.
So, did those same people help you sort of motivationally and mentally?
Oh, absolutely. There was a few people and a few snippets. There was one coach in particular, Fidel Castro Smith. There was one point where, like, I felt like I could have taken on the world with him coaching me, where I was like...
What sort of things did he say?
It was just some psychological snippets sometimes. It wasn't just some of the things that you learn in the gym and some of the talk that he'd have with you wouldn't just be relevant to boxing, be relevant to life. So I remember he pushed me to, like, within a limit of me wanting to go sick, and I'd be sat there contemplating life, thinking, what am I doing, coming here, doing this voluntarily? And he said to me, like, you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And once that being uncomfortable is your comfort zone, you'll be able to achieve anything that you want.
I think that's quite interesting, because, like, everybody goes on about you need to step out of your comfort zone. But I suppose where you set your comfort zone is up to you, and sort of how you view that comfort zone is also up to you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as you sort of heard about your first amateur fight, what sort of things were going through your mind, and how did you get to that stage where you could have your first amateur fight?
So I think I trained for about a year and a half before my first amateur fight, which is quite a long duration of time. A lot of people tend to fight before the 12-month mark.
Yeah.
And I turned up at the gym one day. I'd done my medical, thinking being dead brave, but had no idea. Had no idea when a fight would come. And I turned up to the gym one day, and my coach said to me, I think it was a Tuesday, and he said, "You're fighting Friday." So it's a little bit of an emotional response. You kind of think at the time that it's fear, because obviously you're going into the ring and you're going to fight someone and they're going to want to take your head off. But over time, with experience, you realize that's not the case at all. You've got no fear, but it's actually let me rephrase. You have got fear, but it's a fear of not performing. It's not a fear of a consequence. So when you break it down, you're not scared of getting knocked out. You're not scared of losing. You're not scared of looking silly. The only thing you're scared of is you not performing to the best of your capability and doing yourself justice.
Would you say you're more worried about the fear of your performance than sort of the winning side, or winning rather than?
So when if I was to get in the ring with Tyson Fury and I perform to the absolutely best of my ability and I just lose because Tyson Fury's just better than me,
Yeah.
I can come out of there okay because I've done my very best. But if I go in there against someone not as good as me and I don't perform as well, and then they beat me because I haven't performed, then I'm going to be regretting that for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the fear of not performing comes in. So that's where the anxiety and the nervous energy comes from. And I think a lot in other walks of life, people get this sort of nervousness when it comes to talking on stage or playing rugby or playing football or anything. It's a fear of not being able to perform as opposed to a fear of a consequence.
Yeah. So when you say your coach said, right, you're fighting on Friday, and you were scared as you've ever been, what was more scarier, him saying that, or sort of the build up to your first fight, sort of on the day?
Yeah, on the day, that's all you can think about. So it's just going around and around in your mind, and you're visualizing it. But because you've never been through it before, you're visualizing things wrong. And on top of that, like, I didn't know how to make weight. So it was my first fight. I was trying to be as low as possible in the weight, so it meant I didn't kind of feed myself nutritionally properly. So then don't know if you've ever had to like diet or anything, but if you don't eat enough food, you start to feel a bit physically weak, and you're trying to weigh up all these things. And then in addition to that, word had got to my family. I didn't want any of my family to come to the fight because I wanted to kind of just do this myself, get this one done. And then word had got round because one of the boxing coaches had bumped into someone who knows my family at work and told them that I'm fighting that evening. Then suddenly 3 of my family was at ringside when I didn't know they were going to be. So that added a little bit of pressure.
So when you're saying you're sort of having to diet, but you're doing it quite vigorously, would you say? How did you cope with that mentally?
That's probably one of the most difficult parts of boxing, is where you constantly have to monitor your weight. So you're missing out on going out for meals with your family, missing out on like having a pizza at the weekend, which everyone likes to enjoy. On this particular fight as well, I'll just give you an indication of the difference that making the weight can make. So I was very fit. I could run a really fast 5K. I could do all the sessions in the gym and so on. Yet on the night when I got in the ring and the bell went, I just threw punches non-stop for about 2 minutes. And then the minute that bell went for the end of the first round, I have never been so tired in my life. And then there was another 2 rounds after that. And like, I was knackered. And I was knackered because I hadn't had the fuel in me.
So during your sort of first fight, Is there anything that you thought, I wish I'd done that differently?
Yeah, if I would have, one, I wish I'd have like dieted and made the weight properly, and two, I think if I'd have been a bit more composed in the first round, I would have been able to get through the fight without being so tired in the second and third. I was holding on for dear life, and I think like at that point, when had I been a little bit more composed.
Is there anything that one person said to you that you still use to this day that still sticks with you?
On that particular day, no. A few months later, there was something in relation to the gym.
What was it?
So we went on a boxing meal out, which was everyone at the boxing gym would go for a meal. At this point, I'd had 4 amateur fights and I'd won 1. And one coach said, some people walk in the gym and you know they're going to be good, and some people walk in and they don't have it. And you just know that they're never going to amount to anything in the sport. And I felt like that was directed at me because he said it to me. It might not have been, but then it didn't matter that it wasn't directed at me because I used that as fuel for a long time. When I was going on a run, that sentence was playing around in my mind.
Was it sort of something like, do you think he was directing it? Some people don't have it to you, or some people have it?
So I think he was directing some people don't have it at me.
So was it sort of that, I'm going to prove you wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. It gave me a little bit of a chip on my shoulder and gave me a little bit of motivation and a fire in my belly. And in addition, there was, at the time, I think we had 4 coaches in that gym in Wales. And 3 of them, felt at the time, didn't believe in me, and 1 did. And there was a bit of internal politics going off. And I so wanted to prove that one that did believe in me, right? Because all you need is one person to believe in you, and it gives you so much more encouragement.
So, going into your next sort of 2 fights, was there anything that you took away from your first fight and thought, I've got to improve on
that? My second fight was less than a week later.
So you didn't really have much time.
I didn't really have much time. So you're so sore from your first fight. It's unbelievable. Like you ache all over. Like I wake up and I couldn't really explain to someone how much I ached, and it's possibly the worst I've ever ached until after my second fight.
Yeah.
Which was on the Thursday. I think it was the Thursday afterwards. But on the Tuesday, so I fought on the Friday.
Yeah.
On the Tuesday, I'm phoning into work sick. I've got the flu. On the Thursday, I've got a fight, and the coach says they think I'm bluffing that I haven't got the flu. So I go and fight. And I fight this chap, and again, he's swinging and I'm swinging. It's just 2 brawlers because like neither of us were very well schooled at the time. And I had 2 points deducted for holding, even though the guy was falling into me, and then I lost by a point. So had those point deductions not happened,
you weren't happy.
Yeah, had those point deductions not happened, I would have won. And it was on his home show as well. So yeah, I didn't have enough time to learn, and then the next week or so, I was bedridden because fighting with a flu when you're already aching from your first fight, not advisable.
Yeah. So if I'm right, you lost your first 3 fights.
Yes.
How did you keep sort of the winner's mentality that a lot of people talk about?
I just believed it in myself. I was like, at some point it's gonna come good. I just don't believe in giving up. Like, I wouldn't quit in a fight, so why would I quit at going towards something that I want?
There's something that the way I look at things, where you're always going to be 1 loss away from a win. But nobody's ever going to tell you when it's going to be your last loss. You're going to have to keep going to find out when your last loss is.
Yes.
And that's sort of the way I look. Do you feel the same about that?
Absolutely. Like, there's that picture where, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but like someone's digging to find gold and they quit when they're this far from gold, and like you can quit when you're ever so close to what you've been trying to achieve. Those small moments can change your whole future.
So you're going in and you're thinking, well, at some point I'm gonna win. Your first win. Just explain to me in like a sentence, how did that feel?
I don't think I enjoyed it as much as as you would normally enjoy a win. So I think it was more of a relief to stop the losing rut.
Yeah.
Because I'd lost. Had I won my second fight,
Yeah.
or my third, or my first, I think I would have really enjoyed them. But by this point, it was my fourth fight. Everyone's telling you to quit, and I think it was more of a relief. Like, yes, something's working, and I just felt like a weight lift off my shoulders at that point.
It's sort of that. Was there also that sort of like, I'm glad I didn't listen to you. Look where I am now.
There was a bit of that as well. That was part of relief as well. Like, I'm so relieved that I've followed my own.
Yeah, that you sort of went by your own accord.
Yeah, but I followed what I believe in and haven't listened, and like it's proven to be correct.
What would you, if somebody listening or watching this podcast is having the same problem where people are just telling them to quit all the time, what would you say to them?
I would say, like, if it's something that you truly want and you truly believe in, you keep going, because at some point, like, it will either pay off or you will make that decision. Like, don't let outside influences tell you to don't let outside influences tell you to like give up on something. Like, if you speak to anyone, they've failed more times than they've succeeded, and failure is a part of your journey to success.
Yeah.
Most people who tell you to quit haven't tried it. Like, they're telling you from the comfort of a sofa, or
what, as they've got a pizza in there?
Yeah.
Watching.
Yeah, like they're eating the pizza on the sofa, saying, "This is, if I was fighting Tyson Fury, this is what I would do."
And some people on Twitter and they're going, I don't know why he's picked that formation. What he needs to do. It's some people playing fantasy Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, armchair analysts.
So, after your first win, was there sort of like, come on, let's go again.
Yeah, so my first win, I was just absolutely eager to get back in there. And one of the things that every boxer who's boxed will be able to relate to this, just can't replicate the buzz of fighting, win, lose, or draw. Like, you're in the ring, there's no hiding place in this, just you and one other guy. So if you're having a bad day, everyone's going to know. If you're having a good day, people are going to know. And there's a decent level crowd watching you.
Yeah.
And
how many was there when you first won?
in the amateurs, you'd probably get like 300 to 400 watching you.
It's actually quite good, to be fair.
Yeah, and it's very confined community centres sort of environment. So it was it was very character building.
Yeah.
So with my next fights, I was absolutely eager to get in there and keep going with my career, because like I wanted to start building momentum at that point. Little did I know that I wasn't going to go on a winning run. Like, following that, it was a win one, lose one, win one, lose one for a little while, and then things got a little bit better later on down the line.
So, when you're on a win one, lose one, you sort of, once you've just won one, do you sort of think, here's the time to break the cycle, or what do you think?
So, I had like a really positive mindset, which seemed to carry me forward. So like I at the time I didn't really think about it, and it's probably only now that you've just asked me that question that I'm really reflecting on it, and I've had some conversations with my partner not long ago around it. But when I won one, I was like, right, let's go and win another. And when I'd lose one, it'd be like, let's right that wrong next week. So it'd always be like trying to get the positive out of the situation and having a positive outlook to the future, where, you know, after the 3 losses, it was, I need to win one to stop this run.
So when you sort of broke that cycle and you won 2 in a row or whatever.
In 2011, I took a sabbatical from boxing for about 16 months.
What's that?
A sabbatical where I didn't fight at all. So I was just
took
a break. Yeah, so my granddad died, and I just didn't handle it very well. So I was just eating Jaffa cakes for days and putting on weight.
I mean, it's not something that's particularly easy to handle, is it? So
absolutely not. And then I would tell myself stories to for instance, I'm gonna have a Mars bar because it will give me energy to train, and then I'd eat a second Mars bar, and then I'd feel sick, and then I couldn't go to the gym, and then I'd watch.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So
if I eat this, then
yeah. But you tell yourself a story. If I eat this, it gives me energy, and then you've got one left in the packet. I may as well eat that one now, so it's not there for me tomorrow. And then so I took a bit of
I do it all the time. Don't worry.
I took a bit of a break, and then I started training again properly around mid 2012, and I came back and I had an unlicensed fight. Ironically, the unlicensed fight was in your hometown of Worksop.
Oh, come on, big up Worksop.
Yeah, actually, it might not be Worksop, but it's Worksop postcode Dinnington.
Oh, I don't think it's near Worksop.
Yeah, I mean, I had my second return fight in Worksop. They were both unlicensed, and I just did that to kind of dust off the cobwebs.
Yeah.
And then I started to get a lot of training time with Fidel. And then from there, and in fairness, those two return fights, I wasn't really against very threatening opponents. So they were, it was ideal for me. But then the next 2 years, I just ran through everyone like a machine. I was stopping people with body shots and winning tournaments and all sorts. And it just started, everyone was sitting up and taking notice at that point.
So I know when you were speaking to me before the podcast, you were saying that in your teenage years you were overweight.
Yes.
So as you sort of look from the part where you were just beating everyone for about 2 years, and you look back as to where you were with the teenager, did you ever think you could have got there?
So there's a picture of me when I'm like 17 and I'm about 18.5 stone, and I'm quite, I'm 5'8.5" or something along those lines. And to carry that much weight when you're that height is quite a lot. I think I was about a 46-inch waist, which, and then less than 6 years later, I was winning titles within boxing, and I was 11 stone, which is a massive difference.
So you're not currently boxing at the minute. You're in journalism now. How did that come about?
I was signed to a manager called Jason McClory. And at the time, Jason McClory had a lot of top boxers.
Including Carwyn Herbert.
Including me, yeah. And he ran an open sparring day up in Manchester, which was with at Heavy Hitters Gym in Trafford. And I went up to that and I met some people who do BBTV. Now, after meeting them, they interviewed me that day. We got on quite well. And I started sending them some articles, just writing articles. It's just like, can you post this on your website? I've written this. What do you think? I spoke to a...
Was it just, did they ask you so what were you like?
I just sent it to them. I just thought, I had a little injury in boxing that meant I couldn't train for 4 weeks. So I didn't know what to do with my time. So I just wrote an article.
Fair enough.
And then...
Listen, I've started doing that with a football thing, but...
And to get better at it, I messaged this journalist on Facebook called Mark Turley. He's an author as well. And I said, if I send you some of my work, would you book in a call with me and give me some feedback on how I can improve it? And
so were you expecting that to be published or just feedback from it?
The first one to Mark Turley, I just wanted feedback from it, and he gave me a very, very good bit of feedback, which sticks with me to this day. He goes, keep all your paragraphs to 3 sentences, because...
Oh, don't tell my English teacher that. I'm mental.
Yeah, so he said that, and then ever since then, I tried to keep the structure to that.
So just concise it,
yeah. And then my articles started getting published and really good feedback. And then fast forward to 2022, I get a phone call out of the blue from BBTV, which is the channel that I was getting articles published by. Lee Wood is fighting in your city this week, and we were wondering if you wanted to go and do some media for it. Just take your phone and see if you can record any interviews. I just think you've got to say yes to any opportunity that lands on your lap. I said yes, and that first day I was doing it, I interviewed the Conlon brothers, who were my very first interviews, Michael and Jamie Conlon, and interviewed Eddie Hearn, and then they've kept me on quite a lot of them ever since.
So, Would you say that your experience as an amateur boxer helped with becoming a better journalist?
Yeah, so I have read magazines and books for years, and I'm like a student of boxing where I've got encyclopedias and stuff. So I know the game inside out. So that sort of knowledge, because I understood boxing as a training sport, understood the business side of boxing, read everything about boxing and follow it online. But knowledge meant that I was able to ask questions and carry conversations.
So, after you covered your first big event, how far did you want it to sort of go?
So the biggest event I've covered today is the Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora.
Oh, I saw that on your Instagram story.
Yeah, but I was so disappointed. So I was covering the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight week.
Yeah.
And I was so excited for that fight. I've covered the Fury one since, but I'm covering a couple coming up that I'm excited for.
So, now onto sort of your future and that, but I want to go in the past a bit. So we actually first met doing this baton bearer thing for the Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
So, how did you get into
I work for a company, so boxing isn't like my full-time income. I work for a company called Eon, which is an energy company.
Yeah.
And we were a partner with the Commonwealth Games, and we had so many places to have baton bearers do it, and there was a nomination form internally. Because of my achievements in sport, I was nominated to run with a baton, and then they sent me to Lincoln, and I thought, God, why have I got to? Because they were running the baton in Nottingham the day before, which is around the corner from me. So I went to Lincoln, really enjoyed the day. I met you that day, Bailey, and I remember speaking to my partner and family about it, saying, "Oh, I've met such an inspirational chap called Bailey." And I was telling him
and
about.
And then you're like, "Whoops, I've said the wrong name."
So it was a really good day, wasn't it?
You see, I wasn't on the bus. Everyone else was on the bus.
Yeah, no, you didn't get on the bus, did you? And like everyone was chatting on the bus. Everyone on the bus was talking about you because you left an impression on everyone. Because everyone went around and did their introductions.
Yeah.
And like,
with that MP guy over there,
yeah, the MP guy. Yeah, you owned him a bit, didn't you?
Why? What did I say?
I think you asked him which football team he supported.
I said Birmingham.
Yeah, and you called him a muppet or something.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past me, to be clear.
Yeah.
So when you sort of picked up the baton, what was sort of the feeling?
I was at the bottom of the hill in Lincoln, and the person who was after me didn't turn up. I can't remember. I was number 31, and I think there was point 32, and then there was a cathedral, which was the end point.
Yeah. And
I don't know how well you know Lincoln, but it's a really, really steep hill. There's a phrase that they call the hill. I can't remember what they call it, but people who live in Lincoln call it a hill. And someone might message you and actually let us know what that's called. And I think it was 200-meter blocks that we had to take the baton, and everyone had walked it up to that point. And I was like, I'm going to run it. And people were coming up to me that day saying, "What do you mean you're going to run it? You're on the hill." Everyone else.
Who was talking?
People, the volunteers, like the volunteers with the walkie-talkie. Yeah. And then we were making out like it was this really big thing that was running it. I was like, he's the guy running it. He's the guy running it. I was like, not a big deal. I'm just running it. And then as they were walking towards me with a baton, she handed me the baton, and I just legged it up that hill, and it was like 400 or 500 meters or whatever it was.
Because you had to do 2 legs, didn't you?
I had to do 2 legs. And these police people were collapsing next to me, going, "Stop, slow down, we can't run." And I thought, you police people should be able to run. And eventually, this one police.
And what did you do? I'm right. If you're not going to run after me, I'm taking this baton home.
I was thinking I could run all the way home. You're not catching me.
Listen, he was worried about police people seeing him breaking the speed limit. They're not going to catch him, are they?
Yeah. So one policeman at the back ran up to beside me, saying, "Come on, mate, I'm with you. We'll just go as fast as you want," because he was obviously quite physically fit. So then we just legged it all the way to the top.
So, sort of going into what this segment's called, Where Next?
Yeah.
What is your next challenge?
I'm running the London Marathon in April. In March, I'm doing the Goggins Challenge, which, for those that don't know, the Goggins Challenge is every 4 hours you run 4 miles for 48 hours. So you have to set an alarm in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
He's a bit mad with Goggins. He's like, stay hard! And out running, and then I'm doing a few other challenges, and then, as we said earlier, we might box again this year.
So how's the training going for London Marathon then?
Not bad. I did a red zone run yesterday. I've done a 13-mile run the other day on an empty stomach.
I saw that thing that you put on Instagram just an half marathon before.
Yeah. I woke up at 5:30. I thought, because up till then, that was my first run since Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And I think it was the third week of January. I thought, I've got a marathon coming up. I best get some miles in my legs. And I just woke up and I thought, I need to get some mileage in. So I just ran 13 miles.
So what's the overall goal for this marathon?
I'd like to get it done in under 4 hours is the aim. If I can get it done in under 4 hours, I'll be happy. If I just complete it, I'll be happy. I think completing it's an achievement, but 4 hours...
4 hours and 1 second, how would you feel about that?
I would be heartbroken. I would... That would be the sort of thing. So I only want to have to run the London Marathon once. I mean, I couldn't do other ones. But that's the sort of thing that would make me need to run it again, because I won't be able to stop thinking about it if I get that close.
Yeah. So sort of, what is your overall message? Sort of, we've spoken a lot about what people have said to you to get you sort of inspired and motivated.
Yeah.
But what would you say to someone to sort of motivate them? What is your overall message?
I would say just get out there and do things. Like if something springs to your head, don't make excuses. Like no one's made any memories or achievements by sitting at home thinking about it or talking about it. Like just get out and do it. Like you want to be that old person who's got loads of stories to tell, and you can think back about all the crazy things that you've done with your life. And like there's a quote that used to be in my hallway that my partner doesn't like the decoration of it. So it's called, "One day your life will flash before your eyes. Make sure it's worth watching." And I think about that, like everything that you do, like say yes to most opportunities that come up, unless it's something you really want to do, because you never know where it might lead.
And also, you don't know whether that opportunity will come again.
Exactly. And you've got to grab these things with both hands, haven't you? With most things, the minute you start doing it, all of the anxiety and everything that you worried about is gone. So when you box, the bell rings, you feel nothing after that. You just enjoy it. When you're doing a run, the minute that buzzer goes, it's gone. Like if you're doing a public talk, the minute that you start talking, all the nervousness is gone. People in interviews, the nervousness goes once the interview starts.
I was watching an interview with the England football goalkeeper. They just had their international debut, and they were saying sort of, because they were asked how did it feel when you were stood on the sidelines waiting to be subbed on, and they said, I was nervous, but the second I got on there, just like a normal game.
Exactly.
So
because the minute you start doing, your brain's thinking about doing instead of all the things around doing.
So anyway, Carwyn, thank you for doing the podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So thank you for listening and watching if you did watch. And I hope to see you soon on the next podcast. So cheers, Carwyn, and thanks for doing it.